Hey, it's Daniel. Welcome back to A Year in the Life. Today I am going to go over just kind of some of the goals that I have for the year on increasing my cash flow and what steps I'm going to take to make that happen. Um, First things first, though, let's get the baseline of where we are right now. So, where we are right now is, I have a 9 to 5, and so that is making before taxes, $5,700 or 57,996 per year from what is a salary position. So it's not like an hourly pay. It shouldn't go up and down throughout the year. Not getting into the cents. So it's not like such and such amount and also like 5 cents here. I'll round down or I'll round up. It's If it's close enough, it's close enough. That said, though, the dollars matter, so I'll keep those at the ones place. So still keeping $996, not just 58,000. So I am also, for the time being at least, I don't know how long it'll be going on, getting about 1250 per month from a duplex. So that is 15,000 a year added back on. That is flat, so it's not like it's and extra little dollars here and there. That is 15,000 flat before taxes as well. So that's rental income. I'm house hacking. I bought a duplex and I'm just renting out half of it. Um, and that helps cover some of the mortgage, but by no means is it covering all of it, let alone the utilities. So that's making a pretty decent, helpful chunk for a lot of my income. But so altogether, that ends up being a whopping total of $72,996, and that is a hefty chunk of change. And that's why I say before in a lot of my other videos, I'm living comfortably. Um, so that said, my goal by the end of the year is to make $100,000 per year. That is technically the goal. My goal on the sidelines really is I'm gonna make $100,000 this year. I don't want to be at the end of the year and be like, okay, next year I'll make $100,000 because that's my salary now. I want to make $100,000 this year, and I'll do anything that I can to get there, um, within reason, of course. Um, so you know that means that my income in some way for the whole year has to total up to that amount. So I have to make exactly, quote unquote here, $27,004 in order to at least meet that threshold. Um, it's going to be a little bit tight, I think, towards the end of the year, but I do have a few ways that we can get that done. Some that are a little bit more unconventional, and some that are a little bit more conventional, in more permanent ways that I can think of to make that happen. So on the unconventional side, let's start there because the more conventional side, it's going to be pretty easy. Unconventional side, I have some other random skills that I've already worked on that I've already gotten a lot of ability in. So the number one might be a little random to some. I do work at Renaissance Fairs though, as a side gig, or at least I have for the past couple of years. And so I have built up some skills in making my own scale mail. So if you don't know what that is, you might know what chainmail is. Scale mail is just like the dragon skin looking version of that. And so I've made one big piece for myself, and I've made a couple like few smaller kind of versions that are like maybe like a full shoulder piece or, you know, some other smaller bits. Done a lot of stuff like that, and that's pretty fun. And I can make a bit of money, surprisingly. It's a lot of time investment, and usually charge for those types of things by the hour, just to give a quick scale. My full body piece that I did for myself, which I'm nearly done with. It's just like to fix up the little bits. I'm a perfectionist. I like to make sure it's perfect. But that piece takes about 150 hours for me. And if I'm charging at $20 an hour, that ends up being quite a bit. That's 3,000 minimum, and that's $20 an hour is pretty low actually for that kind of work. Um, anyway, though, that is still 150 hours. That's a lot of time on the side that I'd be spending towards this kind of thing. Um, so otherwise, I can look for other side work. There's a lot of other things that I know how to do. Um, there's some things that I haven't done yet, some things that I have done. So some things that I have done, I like I like my little models, so I like to play with little army men type of thing, Warhammer or the Middle Earth games or one page rules. There's a plenty of other things. But I can print out some models, not necessarily from those things, but I can print out some models, sell them to friends as like some side small amounts of income. I could also paint models for people. I do know how to paint pretty well. Might do a video on that at some point as well. Um, and I could build up some of those skills as well. I haven't done a ton of that stuff in the past, but I have done some. Could also proctor tests. There's a whole bunch of other stuff as like distinctly side work type of things. Um, and so that would make up some of the gap, but it would make up all of the gap. There's no way. It's 27,000 of gap that I'm trying to bridge here by the end of the year. So the last unconventional thing that I could really do is, investing in some fashion. Any extra money I could put towards investments and then try to make money off of those investments. And now, I don't have a ton of cash that I'm sitting on right now because, I'm kind of coasting where where I'm at with my cash flow. And so, what do we do here? There's a lot of options. I know we can do things like seller financed rental units. We could do plenty of other options. I just haven't personally looked into those super deeply. But that is something I'd be more than happy to learn, and I'd be willing to share with you guys the resources that I have in order to learn those things. Um, there are some places that I've already looked at and listened to, so like the Bigger Pockets podcast. They also have some books and stuff. They're pretty solid for that sort of thing. So I might look into that as well. We'll see. We'll see. Um, as for the more conventional items, so for the more conventional items, who would have guessed it? Number one is get a job that pays more than what I have. Um, that's going to be the easiest one, honestly, to do out of all of them. It doesn't necessarily take a lot of extra time. I'd have to apply to a lot of jobs, but it is what it is. Um, so I think the biggest thing for me is that I have a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I'm not one to give people professional accounting advice at the moment, but that's something I could do. I would definitely love doing some form of financial advisory work. That would be cool. Um, there are some common jobs that people would think of when it comes to accounting work, especially this time of year. And so, tax work is a pretty big one. And tax work, while it pays pretty well, unless something falls in my lap, it's probably not going to happen. Just because applying for tax jobs happens um, towards the end of the previous year, because at least for businesses or other entities, tax season's already kind of started. At least to my knowledge, I that's what I know from the tax side of things. So it's not likely to get a tax job. What does that leave me though? So I could get like a CPA position. I don't have a CPA myself, but I work under a CPA, or if I were to work under a CPA, I could easily get a CPA. It just takes about a year, and you have to sit for a test. Um, a very hard test, and there's four of them, I might add. But if you pass them, you get your CPA license, your certification, I suppose. Um, so that'd be fantastic. Working for a CPA, that'd be pretty good. Those pay pretty decently. So on average, like 80 to 100K, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit higher. Depends on where you are. Other things, similar things as well. So like, there's always the big four. Deloitte, Ernst and Young, PricewaterhouseCooper, and then the fourth one I always forget, and I don't know why. Um, every time. But that said, Deloitte would be my number one. PwC is great, and E&W is also great. Um, those are options. Those are options. I had a really high GPA, and so easy. Not necessarily easy. By no means easy. They get a lot of applicants, but they pay really well. They are in really high population areas, so I probably have to drive from wherever I am to wherever they are, depending on if I have to move or not. So that'd be a great option. The other option, like I mentioned earlier, is the financial advisor route. And financial advisor route isn't bad either, but it does require you to get extra exams and extra certifications. And so I am currently trying to study to get some of those exams done. And so the SIE exam would be my number one. That one I'm studying for actively at the moment. And if I were to pass that, it does, you have to pay to take the test, and you have to pay to study sometimes, but that's a pretty fantastic job as well. It's a lot of clientele work, and a lot of making sure that people are getting the money that they need, and make sure that people can build their portfolios. You can honestly build your own portfolio on the side since you're in that kind of position. But they pay pretty well as well. They're also probably about the same as in a normal accounting position, about 80 to 90K a year, roughly on average at the start. The median in my area for the beginner level is about 100 to 110, roughly. Um, so that's fantastic. That said, though, the goal is to make 100K this year. If I'm at 73 right now, and I don't get that position until 6 months in, I'll have to make quite a bit of money by the end of the year in order to make that gap. Not complaining there. If I get a better position, I get a better position. Um, but that's probably the best case scenario. So I'll do that, and then also think about some side work. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And so I'll be looking for that sort of thing. Um, uh, at least when it comes to getting out of my current organization. With my current organization, I could move to like an accountant position, but it won't pay much more than I have right now. The organization I'm in, they don't pay quite close to market value when it comes to accounting, unfortunately. I am trying to go for a lead position or a lead role in my current position, and that'll give me a slight bump, but it's only a 5% increase to my current pay, and that's, or at least I think it's roughly a 5% increase, and that's fantastic. But it's not going to end up being that $27,004 gap that I'm looking for. Anyway, the goals at the moment that I'm looking for towards the end of the year is I'm going to get another position that pays better, and I'm going to try to do some side work. Probably going to do some scale mail work, maybe something else that involves some of my skills, but I'll really be trying to lean into that investing route and learning more about that as I go along. Um, I do greatly appreciate you guys watching the video, and what I'll be trying to do is bridge that 22,000 or $22,250 roughly, I think, gap um, between where I am now and what my average has to be in order to get to 100K gross by the end of the year. Anyway, when we kick off February, join me again for an update on where we are and what our current income is for the year so far. For now, these are the goals we are setting for the year. So this is the full year's thing. I'll just keep you guys updated. As for me, though, I will say it is time for me to study for that exam. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you later on to the next step.